Welcome to this explainer. Today, we are diving into something absolutely crucial for anyone working out on the open ocean. We're going to explain the contents of the Articles of Agreement. If you've ever wondered how order, fairness, and legal protections are actually maintained on a vessel that's isolated thousands of miles from shore, well, the answer lies in this exact piece of paper. It's essentially an invisible tether that connects a seafarer's daily life right back to global legal standards.
Here is our quick game plan for today. We'll start by explaining the maritime contract itself, map out the core details, dive into seafarer rights and protections, outline the strict rules for contract termination, and finally, look at how we track the paper trail. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the Maritime Contract Explained. Before we get into the fine print, we really need to understand the sheer legal weight backing this document. Right at the top of the agreement, you are greeted by the state emblem of India. And this brilliantly illustrates the gravity of the contract right from the get-go. That emblem means this isn't just some standard corporate form. It is a government-backed mandate. When an employer and a seafarer sign this, they aren't just making a private little promise to each other, they're operating under the direct oversight of the Director General of Shipping and the government. It immediately signals to everyone involved that the terms are strictly regulated and completely legally enforceable.
So think of the Articles of Agreement as the absolute blueprint for a seafarer's entire voyage. It locks in your conditions before a single line is even cast. It's a mandatory contract, and it's heavily dictated by collective bargaining agreements, like those negotiated by major seafarers' unions. This means the baseline conditions aren't just made up on the spot by a captain or a shipping company. They are pre-negotiated, solid union standards.
Moving right along to Section 2, Mapping the Core Details. A massive part of this form is simply about establishing undeniable facts. Notice how methodically the document maps out the precise details of the gig, leaving absolutely zero ambiguity. It tracks the people, capturing the employer's details along with incredibly specific seafarer data, like your unique INDOS tracking number, passport details, and crucially, your next of kin. Then it defines the vessel, locking down the ship's name, its official IMO fingerprint, and crew capacity. Finally, it outlines the qualifications, documenting your exact certificate of competency grade and any special endorsements. It's all rigidly categorized, so everyone knows exactly who is on board, where they are, and what they are qualified to do.
And then, of course, we hit the numbers. If you're thousands of miles from shore, this specific section covering the details of employment is your undeniable guarantee. There are spaces that absolutely must be filled in for your rate of monthly wages, provident fund, gratuity, and monthly allotments. It even specifies the exact date and place you'll be paid off. There is literally no "we'll figure it out later" here. The money is agreed upon in black ink well before departure.
Now let's jump into Section 3. Seafarer rights and protections. This is where we see how all those basic details build into an actual shield against exploitation.
Just listen to Clause 3 for a second. It legally guarantees that you will be fed properly, tying your meals directly to the Merchant Shipping Act of 1958, or a collective bargaining agreement if that's higher. This is incredibly powerful. You aren't relying on the generosity of the ship's cook or the captain's budget. Your caloric intake and the quality of your food are a statutory right, written right there into your contract.
Plus, your employment isn't just left to the whims of whoever is in charge. According to Clause 4, it's strictly governed by a massive international and national legal framework. Your rights are anchored by collective bargaining agreements, the Merchant Shipping Act, and the International Labor Organization conventions. It creates a comprehensive legal net that wraps around the entire vessel to keep you safe.
But, what good are rules if you can't actually read them, right? Clause 5 enforces transparency by creating a dual dynamic. The master has a duty, and the seafarer has a right. The master must keep a copy of all these governing acts and conventions right there on board. And you, as the seafarer, have the right to peruse these documents at any reasonable time. Making sure the rules are physically kept on the ship ensures they aren't just abstract ideas. They are real resources you can use to defend yourself.
Which brings us to Section 4, Rules for Contract Termination. Getting on the vessel is one thing, but getting off the ship legally? That is a highly regulated process.
You can't just quit in the middle of the ocean. According to Clause 6, this agreement can only be terminated under 4 very distinct conditions. 1, by mutual consent. 2, if medical evidence proves you're incapable of performing duties due to illness or injury. 3, if you are absent without leave when it's time to sail. And 4, if the master determines your continued employment actually endangers the vessel or anyone on board. These steps brilliantly balance your personal safety against the absolute safety of the entire crew.
Finally, let's look at Section 5, Tracking the Paper Trail. This agreement creates a system that is almost impossible to manipulate once it's signed.
Clause 7 mandates a pretty incredible distribution system. 5 originals and 3 photocopies are created and spread out. The master gets a copy, the seafarer gets copies, the shipping master gets copies for when employment starts and ends, the employer gets their share, and photocopies even go to national welfare and provident funds. Having 8 separate copies spread across these 5 different entities creates an unbreakable bureaucratic web. It literally prevents anyone from altering the terms in secret.
And we can't forget the human element required to lock these rules into place. The form features highly specific signature grids. There are designated spaces for signing on and off the ship, signing ashore, and spots for the shipping master's required signatures to confirm the receipt of these records. The contract simply isn't valid until the ink is dry from multiple authorities at multiple stages of your journey.
So that wraps up our explainer. We've seen exactly how the Articles of Agreement dictate your wages, secure your food supply, outline the strict rules for discharge, and spread accountability across an entire global network. It really leaves us with this incredible thought. How does one standardized, heavily replicated piece of paper hold the entire, fragmented, global shipping industry together? Well, it does so because every safe, legally protected voyage on the high seas begins and ends with the meticulous power of this exact document. Thanks for joining me today, and keep questioning how the hidden frameworks of our world actually operate.